second exercise in our day one vertical push progression is the half kneeling landmine press. Landmine refers to any exercise where the barbell is fixed in place on one end. For any help or questions regarding how to set up a landmine exercise, please refer to Coach Sterner's video. Now in a half kneeling position, we're very similar as for the dumbbell half kneeling. We've got a roughly vertical shin with the knee and ankle in line with the hip. The back leg is very strong with the glutes locked in and the ribs down. Coach Sterner has a nice triangle position here between his shoulder, elbow, and wrist, and he's going to press up and away at approximately a 45-degree angle. This isn't truly an overhead press, but is a great way to start getting into stronger overhead pressing variations, keeping the elbow nice and tucked underneath the barbell the entire time.
Our third progression for vertical pressing on day one is a tall kneeling landmine 2 up, 1 down press. Now, here we really start to get into training the eccentric muscle action, which is really, really important for a few reasons. First off, your muscles can absorb and mitigate force substantially to a substantially higher degree with eccentric contractions than they can concentrically when they're being forcefully lengthened. So here, what we're going to do is we're going to use both arms to press up concentrically, and then we're going to stabilize with one arm, and from there progress back down. Now, what you should notice, especially if you progressed from our second exercise to this one, we should be able to do considerably more weight on this exercise than we did on the previous one. And that does really well to really reinforce muscle hypertrophy and to just provide a slightly different stimulus than what our regular strength training is going to provide. Another important thing to note is that we want to control that eccentric motion for a good 4 to 5 seconds. We don't want it to be so heavy that the bar comes crashing down from the top. We should still be able to control it through the entire range of motion.
The first exercise in our day one horizontal pull progression is the dumbbell incline chest supported row. You can see here that we have the bench set up at a 45-degree incline. You can go anywhere from 45 to a little bit lower than that, but we don't want any higher. You can see that Coach Sterner has his feet nice and stable on the ground. If you're a little too short for that, it's okay to put your knees in the corner of the bench as well. So we have a neutral grip with the palms facing in. Elbows are going to stay nice and close to the body. We're going to think about dragging the elbows and shoulder blades back into a strong pinch position. What we want to avoid is shrugging up towards the shoulders. We want to keep space between the ear and shoulders to really emphasize the lats or the latissimus dorsi and other strong muscle groups in the upper back. The bench position allows takes some of the stress off of our low back while also preventing a lot of cheating or using too much momentum or body English through the torso.
Our second exercise progression under day one horizontal pull is going to be a seal row. Now, we really put some effort into getting an appropriate setup, and most of these things are found at most commercial gyms. We have some standard risers underneath the bench so that Coach Bryce can go through a full range of motion, and he has the dumbbells lined up right in front of his face where he can easily grab them. So he's going to go ahead and grab them, and this is a chest supported row much like the last one. He's going to let his shoulder blades really protract at the bottom of the movement, and then he's going to draw them together as he comes up. He's got close to a neutral grip. You don't have to quite keep the handles parallel, but you definitely don't want to let your elbows wing way out from your sides. We want to get used to pulling with those elbows nice and close to our body. So he's going to go ahead and hit his set from this position.
Final exercise in our day one horizontal pull progression is the barbell Pendulum row. Now in exercises 1 and 2, we removed any real stabilization or challenge for the lower body to be able to focus on the proper mechanics of pulling in the muscles of the upper and mid back. The Pendulum row is a much steeper challenge for the legs and posterior chain to be able to maintain position. This is very similar to what we see a lot of times when we're having to pass or when an opponent on bottom is pulling on your lapels. So you see here that Coach Sterner is going to set up very similarly to an RDL with a vertical shin and the hips back. And from here, he's going to pull the bar to his belly button and focus on dragging it along his thighs. Many people have the elbows flare away and pull too high to the upper chest. This allows more lat activation and stronger activation of the pulling muscles in the mid-back, keeping space between ear and shoulder. It's important to keep the same spinal posture whenever possible, and the bar starts and stops on the ground on every single repetition.
Exercise 1 of our lunge movement pattern is a dumbbell split squat. Now, a split squat is just a stationary or static lunge, so it's a really good place to start when we're getting comfortable with this movement pattern. So before we ever even pick up the dumbbells, I'm gonna have Bryce start to get into his split stance position. Now, he's a bit more experienced, and if you're not sure how far front to back your feet should be, a nice easy way to get started with that is get set at a distance where we're very close to a vertical shin. If his feet are too close together front to back, you'll notice that he'll have a much more angled shin position. So find that vertical shin. This setup is gonna be good. And something Coach Bryce did naturally, he started with his feet hip width, and they remained roughly hip width as he got into position. So that's just another thing to note. So he can go ahead and pick up his dumbbells, and he can go ahead and start at the top. From here, envision pointing this knee straight down to the floor, right? It's gonna help us maintain that vertical shin, and he's also got an angled torso. A neutral spine, but an angled torso is going to allow us to preferentially hit the muscles surrounding the hip a little bit more. The last thing I want to talk about is his foot posture. Coach Bryce is purposefully a bit toe in with the front leg and heel out with the back leg. A cue that we like is that if he was wearing skis, they would be intersecting. By having this position, but then at the same time, driving this knee out and allowing it to track over the pinky toe, we're able to stay very stable and make sure to protect the joints involved as we load up this movement.
Exercise number 2 in the day 1 lunge progression is a dumbbell walking lunge. Now, it's important to note that for any lunge or unilateral exercise, the reps listed are per side. So if you see 3 sets of 8, that means 8 reps on the left leg and 8 reps on the right leg for 16 total. Now, in this variation, Coach Turner is going to be walking forward, but there are some bad habits that occur when we perform walking lunges. Typically, people will keep their feet too close together and try to cheat and lean back onto the back leg. We want the front leg to do the majority of the work, and there are 2 things that can really help with that. The first is having a vertical shin or nearly vertical shin position at the bottom. Many people wind up having their knee track way too far past their toes, and they lose the weight distribution to their front heel, which is always our goal. We can also perform a slight hinge. This will allow us to stay over the front leg and take a lot of